Hello there, welcome to another exciting edition of Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolis. I'm so excited to grace your screens once again. We have a lot in store for you, from football to boxing, where we have one man who has seen his name etched into the history books. Who's the man we'll be telling you on the show? And there's plenty of transfer conversations for you today. Not forgetting our Tipsters Corner, where we'll give you the very best of tips going into the weekend. The big leagues are gradually coming back into the full seasons, and we have so much to talk about on the show. Of course, I do this in company of my homeboy, Bankole Oladuni. Before I bring him on board, we'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll set the ball rolling. Welcome back, and of course I have Bankole Oladuni in the building. Banky, what's up? How you doing?
Edwin, it's good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
You even look good. I like you looking posh and dripping.
All right, where do we start? Let's start with transfer. We're still in the period of transfer. Plenty of movements going across, but one that caught our attention is Marcus Rashford from Manchester United to Barcelona on loan. Bankole, you get a feeling that this is the perfect solution for all parties. For Manchester United, they get an unwanted player off their books, especially with his mammoth wage bill. For the player, he gets his dream move. This is a player who has always stated his desire to play with Lamine Yamal and Barcelona. And of course, from Barcelona's perspective, it's a move that makes a lot of sense for them financially. They are not paying a transfer fee. They're only covering his 14 million euros a year salary.
So I agree, but I think it is still, over the course of the season, it could also still turn out to be a bad move for United. If he goes to Barcelona and he does not light it on fire, like we saw at Aston Villa, he comes back to United with his value decreasing, with a lot of clubs, actually knowing that he is not good enough anymore. So I think it's still a risky move. For Barcelona, they are the winners of this. They are the biggest winners of this whole transaction. You still have Lamine Yamal, you have Rafinha, you have Dani Olmo, you have players who could cover up if Rashford goes on to become not the success that a lot of people are expecting him to be. But like on paper right now, I think it's a win-win situation for everybody. This is another opportunity for Rashford, to remind a lot of people as to why he was regarded one of the best players in the world back in 2016, 2017. And a lot has been said about how he doesn't deserve the move to Barcelona. And I've always felt like most of these ex-players, the Teddy Sheringham's of this world, I think they believe you always have to suffer, to get to. I don't think so. I mean, the game has changed significantly. Did Jack Grealish deserve a 100 million move to Manchester City?
No, he didn't.
There are a lot of players who don't deserve. Robert Amorim is not even deserving of a job right now, if we fact check it, and yet he has the right to come out and say, Marcus Rashford is rubbish. So I think when you come out and you say certain things, you have to also put it in context. So I think he has gone to Barcelona. Has he been poor in the last couple of years? Yeah. Absolutely, but is there a talented player there? Has President shown that this is a talented player? Absolutely. So in going to Barcelona, I wish him the best. I hope he gets to light it on fire. I hope he gets to become a success.
Sorry. Do you think this is last chance at a big club?
Absolutely. I think this is last chance. I think this is last chance at an elite club. If it doesn't work out at Barcelona, then we'll start to see him fall into the realm of Joao Felix, where you start looking at the elite clubs, the Benficas of this world, the Newcastles of this world, the Aston Villas of this world. That's where he will fall into. Because if he doesn't make it at Barcelona, which means he has failed at Manchester United, he has not exactly light up fire at Aston Villa, and also at Barcelona. A Barcelona team where all the attackers are like feasting. All the attackers are scoring goals. So you going there and you failing shows that the problem is actually you. Especially with what your reputation, the hit your reputation has taken in the last couple of years. You're not hardworking, you're a bad trainer, and yet you're still not, putting results on the field of play. I don't think a lot of big teams would look at that, would want to risk the amount of the wages he's collecting. So I think the only team that would accommodate, Rashford would be the smaller teams, if he goes on to fail at Barcelona.
All right, from Barcelona's perspective, if you're a Barcelona fan, the number one target was Nico Williams. You didn't get him. Number two target, Luis Diaz, seemed to be on his way to Bayern Munich. You're going for the third option, Marcus Rashford, someone who, like you rightly said, hasn't particularly lived up to his billing in the last 24 months. Will you be excited with this move?
Not really, but I also won't begrudge it. I mean, we've seen cases where clubs are stuck on one player, chasing a player yet failing to get that player. So I was quite surprised. Like, it was all about Nico Williams or the end of the world. Nico Williams is a good player, but I also don't think he's as great as a lot of people are making him out to be. Luis Diaz probably is a better player than Nico Williams, but also you look at Luis Diaz, you look at his age, you look at what might happen in the next couple of years. It is not guaranteed that these guys will come in and be a success. So if you are going for a lesser, risk player in Marcus Rashford, the economic situation of Barcelona in relative to what they are paying for Rashford, it makes a lot of sense. Instead of splashing, a huge risk on Nico Williams or Luis Diaz, 60, 70 million of transfer fee, not to talk about the wages alone. So I think if I was a Barcelona fan, knowing what Barcelona are going through financially, knowing how it has been difficult in a couple of years, I wouldn't begrudge this move.
Where does he fit into this Barcelona team? Where does Rashford fit into this Barcelona team?
So for Rashford, I don't think he's a starter. I sincerely don't think he's a starter. I think we'll probably come in as a backup to Robert Lewandowski. I think he's coming in as a striker, first things first. And if he was to start, I think there will be a lot of shifting and shuffling. Probably like what we said about Nico Williams will come in on the left, Rafinha will be able to play, as a number 10, and then Lamine Yamal on the right with Lewandowski as a striker. But I think mostly what we'll see at the start of the season will be him, playing as a backup to Lewandowski. For Ferran Torres and Fermin Lopez, I think if we see an offer, or if Barcelona sees an offer, for either of these guys, I think they'll sell them. I think you still have a certain Dani Olmo, coming in. For Fermin Lopez, La Masia, young player, he might stick around. But for Ferran Torres, I think if there's an offer, we've heard rumors about Aston Villa, we've heard rumors about teams in Spain. If there's a suitable offer for Barcelona, I think they'll sell him off.
All right, more transfer conversations right here on Sports Pizza. From Spain, we head back to England, and this time Liverpool, they've been the biggest movers in the transfer market. Over 100 million euros for Florian Wirtz. And we're hearing that Ekitike for 95 million euros. They spent over 240 million pounds thereabouts in the transfer market. Let's focus on Ekitike. What does he bring to this Liverpool side? He's not a proven goal scorer. Are we seeing the second coming of Darwin Núñez, or is this someone who is coming in to complement Salah and Cody Gakpo, just like Roberto Firmino did?
So for Igor Ekitike, I think in terms of technicality, in terms of technical ability, I think he's a level ahead of Darwin Núñez. I think he's an intelligent player. Okay. Yes, you're right. He's not exactly the type to give you 20-25 goals, but in terms of link up, in terms of knitting things together, in terms of making everybody around him better. We saw what he did in a partnership with Omar Mamouche before he went to Manchester City. So I think that's something that Liverpool will be looking out for. With Cody Gakpo, with Florian Wirtz, with Mohamed Salah. These are guys who can bring in the goals. These are guys who can score a lot of goals. And I think in 2025, I don't think managers are looking for one particular player, to score, 40 goals. Yes, we've seen it with Mo Salah at Liverpool, but I also think that's something Anna Slot would be looking to work around. Mo Salah is not getting younger. We might see a fiscal decline, heading into next season. So you need other parts of the team to play his role in terms of scoring goals. So I think Igor Ekitike will be coming in and will be doing, mostly what we saw at Frankfurt, linking up the play, coming deep, taking the ball and, setting the wingers on the run, playing them in behind. But my worry is, which might be a bit insignificant, is when you look at the player, you look at his technical profile, you look at his mental profile. I have seen Ekitike at PSG, and he seems like the type to always succumb under pressure. But yes, that's why I said it's quite insignificant. He was 19 at PSG.
There was Messi ahead. There was Mbappe ahead.
There was Mbappe. So that's why I said it's a bit insignificant. He might have grown up to get stronger. But when I look at him, he reminds me of a certain Alvaro Morata. The ability is quite there. But whenever you take the pressure up a notch, they always tend to crumble. And I really hope we don't get to see that at Liverpool. Yeah,
still with Liverpool, Bankole. The first choice was Alexandra Isak. and Newcastle were reported to put 120 million price tag on him. Now, if you're paying 9,500 million euros for Ekitike, don't you think going an extra mile to get a proven goal scorer makes more sense than spending 100 million on someone who's not proven, knowing fully well that this season you have to challenge on all fronts and you have teams coming at you with their full arsenal? Yeah,
but is Arsenal supposed to be a double return? but like I don't think it was up to Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool were in control of the Isak. They was at the end of the day, they were still down to Newcastle to accept if they were willing to sell the player or not. And I didn't think Newcastle are in a position to be desperate about offloading Isak. They're in the Champions League. They'll be competing also for qualification of the Champions League next season. So I think them in their head, according to their owners, they are on their path, to becoming one of the elite teams in England. So if you are on your way to becoming one of the elite teams, I don't think you would want to be considered a selling club. Because when you also consider that the likes of Anthony Gordon is still in that team, Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, these are players who could angle for a move, in the nearest future. So I really don't think it was down to Liverpool. They were looking at Ekitike, that was Newcastle, but only if Isak moves to Liverpool, but Ekitike was not interested in a move to Newcastle. So it felt like at the end of the day, Newcastle still held all the cards, and if they are not willing to sell Isak even for £1 billion pounds, I don't think there was anything Liverpool could have done than to just go for an alternative. All right, so finally from our transfer conversation, we have to bring it home closer. Victor Osimhen to Galatasaray. It is the biggest transfer in the history of the Turkish league, 75 million euros. Here's my opinion on Bankole, and I've said it on different platforms. I think Osimhen going to Galatasaray was him trying to get away from the clutches of Napoli. Whatever happens, let me leave De Laurentiis. I want to get out of Napoli. I want to get out of Naples. And the most sensible move was to Galatasaray, a soft landing. What do you think? Absolutely. I think so too. Especially when you consider how difficult this deal was for Galatasaray. It was a deal that has been in the making for a long time. The whole in payment installments was an issue. Napoli wanting 40 million euros being paid at once, and the add-ons were also quite, achievable, very, very achievable for a player of Osimhen's caliber. Yeah. So, and De Laurentiis has a reputation of being, a strong head. He has a reputation of being very difficult in terms of negotiation. So I understand his plight, but I also think he was the one who extended his contract at the pinnacle of his success, of his time at Napoli. You had won the league title, you had been coveted by a lot of clubs, and yet you extended your contract in a club that, as we saw Kalidou Koulibaly, we saw how difficult it was. Even certain players like Marek Hamšík, certain players like Lorenzo Insigne couldn't leave at their prime because of how difficult it was, to leave Napoli, how difficult De Laurentiis was in terms of, negotiating with other clubs. So I think he was quite unwise of him. He made that mistake, and it's nice to see that he has corrected it, even though it might be a bit too late. But if he goes on to Galatasaray, he goes on to light the league up for a couple of years, I still think there's an opportunity, for him to still make his strides, to go to a bigger club. All right, that's so much we have for you on our transfer conversation. At this point, we'll go on a short break. When we return, we're straight to boxing, where Olisandro Usyk is a two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. All right, welcome back from that short break. It's the second half of the show, and we'll head straight to boxing, where Olisandro Usyk and Daniel Dubois once again were in the ring, and this time it was a fifth-round knockout for the 38-year-old Ukrainian who has become the undisputed heavyweight champion for the very second time. What is most interesting about this is that Bankole, it is only his 8th fight as a heavyweight. He was an undisputed champion at cruiserweight level, went up to the heavyweight category, and he has absolutely dominated it. He's defeated Anthony Joshua twice, he's defeated Tyson Fury twice, and now Daniel Dubois, 11 years younger than him, is taking him to the cleaners twice. Is he in the conversation of the greatest
heavyweight boxer in the world?
No, I don't
Because
think so.
that seems to be the conversation on social media.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think if there's any sport where you can compare eras,
Yeah.
you can fairly compare eras, I think it's boxing.
Okay.
You look at the era at which we are seeing Usyk, we are seeing the likes of Anthony Joshua. It is a very, very poor era in boxing.
But again, you have to beat who is in front of you.
Exactly. So when you beat who is in front of you, it does not necessarily elevate you to people who has done it against much more difficult. Now you can't even count 5 elite boxers right now.
So let me add more context to it. 8 heavyweight fights. 6 of those fights have been title fights. 6 of 8, and he's won all 6. He's undefeated in his career. 24 fights undefeated. His amateur record is outstanding.
So Edwin,
he's an Olympic gold medalist.
I don't mean to
also,
cut you short, but the fact that he was able to upscale his skill at that level shows you there's something wrong with the heavyweight era. I don't think back in the days a cruiserweight guy would even think about competing in the heavyweight because the competition was stiff. Yeah, but Evander Holyfield was also a level, a tier below the Mike Tysons of this world, the Joe Frazers of this world, the Muhammad Ali's of this world. So you look at you drop Usyk in that era, and he's an absolute nobody. No disrespect to Usyk. Yes.
So Bankole, I think.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
You are.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
I think you are.
But I think
as a skilled boxer, he's one of the best.
I think there's still a significant gap.
In the last 25 years.
I think there's still a significant gap between the Ali's of this world, the Joe Frazers of this world, the Tysons of this world, to Usyk. You compare Usyk to the likes of Tyson Fury. I don't think
all of these are hypotheticals.
Yeah, no, I don't think the gap between Usyk is not even hypotheticals. We saw Tyson fights, we saw Joe Frazier fights, we saw Muhammad Ali fights. In terms of skill, in terms of punch, Usyk is nowhere close to these guys. Like I said, no disrespect to Usyk, and like you said, you beat who is in front of you.
Yeah. And
so far, he has absolutely demolished everybody in front of him. So in this modern era, in this era where boxers are more like entertainers now, it is one of the best. Because you look at boxing, it has been watered down. You're looking at wrestlers, coming into fight boxing. I have zero respect for boxing these days. It is no longer the sport it used to be. But it doesn't mean we'll take anything away from Usyk. But when you now put him, when you now try to elevate him in conversations of the greats, the people who made boxing what it is, the people who you saw week in, week out, heavyweight usually is not a category where you go in and you try to play around. One punch and it ends your entire career. We saw it with Samuel Peter, we saw it with Usyk and the Klitschko brothers. I don't think it stands a chance. And these are people who you can't even still put in the likes of Ali, and I don't think he cuts it with the Klitschko brothers. Samuel Peters, who was a decent boxer, just a punch. David Hayes, the British guy. You look at all of this. These were skilled boxers who could not still cut it because the competition was quite stiff. So, like I said, no disrespect to Usyk, but he's one of the best of his generation. But if you now try to elevate him in terms of all-timers, I think he's not.
All right, from boxing, we head straight to Morocco, where the Women's African Cup of Nations is on. And Bankole, what has been your general assessment of the Women's African Cup of Nations 2025?
That it needs a lot of work. That it needs a lot of work. The quality of football that I've been seeing, and I don't want to say unfortunately, the women's Euros has also been going on at the same. And you look at the difference in football. I'm not saying that was also like the pinnacle of football. You look at the difference between what we see in women's Euros and what we see at the AFCON. The difference is quite clear. The gap in quality is wide, and it is just down to the amount that's been invested in football. In the likes of England, the likes of Germany, the likes of Spain. You look at the amount they've spent in their league. Chelsea's of this world, the Liverpool's of this world. In comparison to what we have in Africa, I think we only have a couple of countries, who are pulling their weight. That's South Africa, maybe to a large extent Morocco. A lot of these countries are working on autopilots. The Nigerias of this world, the Zambia. So I don't think you can expect miracles when you've not exactly put in the work. You can't expect quality when you've not put in preparation. So I think that's exactly what we are seeing. I saw a game between Botswana and it was an eyesore. I mean,
Algeria, was it Algeria, Ghana too?
Algeria, Ghana was also an eyesore.
Come on, it can be better.
It was.
But the Falcons, one of the teams that lit up this.
And I was having a conversation with a senior journalist, and he also told me that for the Super Falcons, we goofed a lot. You look at USA and how they are with basketball.
Yeah.
No matter how hard any other countries prepare, no matter how talented you think you are, you can never beat USA in basketball. And that is exactly what female football is supposed to be for Nigeria. When Nigeria qualified for the World Cup, we became the first African country to qualify for the World Cup.
We have appeared at every World Cup.
So when Nigeria appeared at the World Cup for the first time, the South Africans of this world, the Moroccos of this world, they were not even thinking about female football. Yeah. The head start we had ahead of these guys. We had foreigners coming to play football in our women's league. We were the first African countries to start women's league on the continent. So you look at the head start we had on these guys. It is actually disgraceful to now see that we are celebrating a 1-0 win over Botswana. We are saying, oh,
5-0 win against Zambia.
5-0 is a 0-0 win against a 0-0 draw against Algeria, and we are saying, well, it can be better. It's actually quite disgraceful. I think so, and it is a shame because it is a sport we are supposed to own, a sport that we are supposed to dominate entirely. Nobody has. There will always be minions in sport. Yeah. There will always be minions. And for female football, every other country is supposed to be a minion to Nigeria. With the head start, we had like a 30-year head start ahead of every other country. And yet we are still having a conversation about how, we struggle against Morocco. And it's a shame, actually. All
right, my producer is telling me we need to go on a break. But before we do that break, our segment, Start, Bench, Drop. Now, this is a very popular one, but I want to get your thoughts on it live on national TV. Start, bench, drop. Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard.
Okay. For me, I would always go with Paul Scholes. I think it's just, at the end of it, it's down to preference. It's down to the type of midfielder you like. And me, I like my midfielders who show an extraordinary level of technical ability, and that's Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes could pass the ball with his eyes closed. Paul Scholes could do everything Gerrard and Lampard could do, with also an enormous passing ability. So I think I'll go with Paul Scholes as a defensive midfielder, as an attacking midfielder, as a box-to-box. He was elite in all of these positions. I'll start with Paul Scholes. I'll bench Lampard. I'm a huge fan of Frank Lampard. People tend to underestimate his ability because they tend to reduce his ability down to goals. Yeah. And I think making runs into the box consistently, being one of the highest goal scorer in the Premier League and also the all-time goal scorer at Chelsea, also with his chance creation, with his amount of assists that he garnered over the years, I think he is quite underrated when you put him in a conversation with these guys. So I'll bench Frank Lampard and then I'll sell Steven Gerrard.
Interesting one there. All right, we need to go on that break right now. It's a video for the week. Do enjoy it. Up next is the Tipsters Corner. All right, it's our Tipsters Corner. I'm sure you have your pens and your papers. We have 3 games for you this weekend. The Belgian League is back. We'll start with that. It is Club Brugge versus Genk.
These are 2 teams who are looking to get back to the title, and they both lost the title to USG last season. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of goals. Both teams are over 2.5. Both teams to score and over 2.5.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think it's something we'll be seeing, especially cutting the first game of the season in the Belgium League. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of goals from these 2 teams.
All right, in Czech Republic we have Viktoria Plzeň versus Jablonec.
So Jablonec is also one of the most difficult teams to play against in Czech Republic. Yeah. The Sparta Prague, Slavia Prague, Viktoria Plzeň have all struggled against them recently. So I think a double chance Viktoria Plzeň and over 1.5 might make sense. A win either half. A home multi goals too, or home 1 to 3 goals. So I think home multi goals, double chance and over 1.5 seems like a really good.
And finally from Norway, Bodo Glimt versus Vålerenga.
Now this is goals. It has goals written all over it. These are 2 teams who have started well in the Norwegian league. These are 2 teams who have been doing well, in the Norwegian. Vålerenga also, have put in their weight this season. And Bodo Glimt, they are one of the biggest teams, in Norway. So I expect a lot of goals in this particular encounter. Both teams to score and over 2.5. If you want to go big, you can go with over 1.5 first half. You can also go with over 1.5 in both halves. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of goals in that game.
So much fun with us. It's been exciting. It's been entertaining. It's been educating. I'm sure you keep a date with us same time next week. Bankole, always a pleasure doing this with you.
Always nice to be here with you, Edwin. And from me to our viewers, see you next week.
From me, Edwin Onyebolise, remember to follow us on our social media platforms. Handles are showing on your screen. And of course, we have a dedicated YouTube page for your viewing pleasure. My name is Edwin Onyebolise. Do have a sporting weekend.